Okay, we are back with Richard, and Richard was telling us about some of the things that he does at work. And now I am curious to know, Richard, what do you love about engineering? If you're doing something for 38 years, you must develop some really some good connection with that. And I'm sure you have some great stories that you want to share with others about what you love, the good days that you have at work. And also, we will talk about the challenges later. But right now, let's focus on the good things. Tell me at least three things with examples that you love about engineering.
I'd say there's many aspects and dimensions to engineering that are just plain fun, I guess is a simple way to express that. And that's the fact that things never stay the same. Technology is constantly changing and constantly challenging you. And then there's also always new problems and new complexities in vehicles and systems and products that you're developing that constantly need to be addressed. So one of the things that I've been able to see over 38 years was when I first started working in the automotive industry. Was involved with putting some of the first microcomputers on cars, and those were 4-bit and 8-bit CPUs, and now they've 16, 32 bits are pretty common. And so in the course of that years, and the price of these components really hasn't gone up. So you get so much more value for the dollar with these new technology advances. And then just new materials based when I first started as an engineer, silicon devices were pretty common. And now there's devices called wide bandgap, which are silicon carbide and gallium nitride based, and as well as they're working on transistors made out of diamonds in the future. And so that might not be always that a diamond is a girl's best friend. It could be a power electronic engineer's best friend too, because of the properties of diamond and what it can do.
Wow.
High temperature wise and things. So, and that's some of the challenges that keep you going, is that people are pushing the envelope more in higher temperatures or lower temperatures. And so how do you work with suppliers that if there's not an existing solution to that, how can you work with someone outside of your company to develop something that will help support you in the end making that product? So the opportunities for creativity never end. And the other thing is the ability to learn from others, which was something I'd stress to young engineers coming into the workplace is take the time to understand the culture of the company and find out people, engineers that have a similar interest as you do, and try and connect with them and take time to learn from them as much as you can, because that's there's so much you can learn in school, but really having your boots on the ground and working and developing and testing things in the lab is where you really learn your trade in engineering. And it's a friend of mine told me once is to put the pride aside and learn from others, because there's a lot of great ideas, and sometimes we don't always have the best idea. Others might have it, and by interacting with others, you can build off of ideas, and from that you can come up with a great product that's a win-win for everybody.
Yes. Can you think of any other things that is attractive in engineering?
Again, to me, the reward is seeing something created out of almost nothing, so to speak, in that there's just a satisfaction in seeing something that was just an idea at one time and seeing it on a vehicle or in the air on an aircraft or on a car, or a truck, or a tractor, or combine, different things, and things that are making other people's lives even are better or more efficient, as I mentioned before, is just rewarding. So just seeing something come into being brings great satisfaction.
Wow. So for a young engineer right now listening to this, do you think that they will have financially, they will get into the workplace and know that they will do okay as an engineer?
What I would recommend is that if an engineering student has opportunities to do some internships, because that's a great way to get some experience as well as find out if that's really the area that you're really interested in. Like I said, I was interested in a totally different field, but as I worked in industry, I learned quickly that my interests were really different than I thought they were. And so if you can do some internship, you can find out what kind of things that you might thought you really like to do, but you really don't after you started experiencing it. And there's maybe another area that you find out that, hey, this is really more rewarding than what I thought, and pursue that. So I've seen people that went from design engineering into quality engineering because they enjoyed that more, or they went from design engineering into manufacturing because they just felt that sense of accomplishment of seeing product being built and figuring out ways to build that product more effectively was more enjoyable to them than designing the initial product. So you never know. So I would encourage to try the internship, and then once you're in a place, be willing to try and work in different departments to get familiar with the company and get familiar with people that you're going to be working with as you evolve in your career.
Okay, very cool, very cool. So, Richard, I know you touched on quite a few things about what you love about being in engineering. So, do you think that a young student right now, because the way we do this, we want to make sure that when we are talking about these professions, people who are listening interested in becoming an engineer find reason or find a way to get motivated, because some of the field out there can be really it can be scary to go to. A student might feel like it's not a field that's attractive to them, and for certain reason. So your experience and your time as an engineering must be what encouraging them, right? So tell me an instance where you had to create maybe a document, and how you go about that. You have to talk about an idea that you have. How did you go about it?
Well, it depends again on the company. Every company has what they call processes and stuff, and that's probably the most challenging part when you're starting out in your career is getting to understand the culture of the company, understanding the processes, and then wondering why do these processes exist. Sometimes it seems like this is a lot of extra work outside of what I thought I was going to do as an engineer. And so I challenge all young engineers and older engineers too, is to first be patient.
Yes.
Take the time when you're starting out a new job, is to at least give it 2 or 3 years, because that's the amount of time it really takes to get comfortable with the culture, to understand the processes and how things are done, and to start to understand why these processes exist, because they just didn't happen. They are typically something that evolve over time from experiences. So you learn as you go things that worked, things that didn't work, and you try to address that and capture that in the form of some form of documentation. So the thing is, starting with the documentation is asking. That's one of the things I encourage all engineers to do, and especially young engineers, is be willing to ask. Don't be afraid to ask questions from someone that's been there a while, and say, okay, how do I write a requirements document? Do you have an example that I could use as a starting point?
Yes.
Instead of trying to do things from scratch. It saves you a lot of time and a lot of frustration. And most people are willing to say, hey, I know there's a similar product that was developed. It has a specification. You could use this as a template to go with, and it will save you time and give you a good framework, and say, oh, I hadn't thought about that. I need to include this in my requirements. How am I going to test it? How am I going to qualify it? And because of this example, I now understand why it's important to have that in there.
Wow, very, very, very nice. Richard, we're going to take a little pause here so that we can continue. And then after that, we'll continue with the conversation. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the challenges. The challenges are important because for the young engineers to know also, that will give them the mindset to know what to do in certain situations. When we come back, we're going to ask Richard, what are 3 challenges that they think are at the top 3 in the engineering field?